This one is quite simple. It's about voicing your opinion and how sometimes if you don't have the words to say what you want to say, you can join a movement, a protest, and find other ways to reivindicate. I mean, that's very much my work. I don't necessarily always have the words, but I draw what I want to say. A parallel between this and a protest in France, we protest a lot, and people have really creative signs when they want to sum up in a few means, be it graphic or a few words, a bigger idea. And I like the image of it. I like this one just because it's a sort of two moments. First, you see the image, and I think by the black and white contrast, the empty zones and the busier zones, it creates a strong image, quite dynamic, and a bit like in the mangas when by having a character immobilized, you suggest more movement than if it was actually moving. And you can see he's playing ping pong, but you can't see the ball, and on second glance, when you look at his eye, you realize that he's got the ball in his eye. And I think it's a situation that could be painful but turn into funny, and I like the graphic game by just getting rid of one little detail, which is the pupil, the eye transformed into a ping pong ball. It's also playing with the visual analogies between elements. This one is an echo to when I'm traveling quite a lot for work, and whenever I get to different places, one of my big questions is like, what type of plug is it? And what type of socket? And you always get sold this sort of like very cumbersome multi-socket kits, and I just wanted to create this sort of monstrous plug that would potentially fit in every plug or in no plugs. This one is again, it's kind of an echo to what we were saying about drawings and failing at drawings, whereas whenever you do origami, it's another form of creativity with simple paper. It's about if you compare yourself to someone else, you'll potentially always be feeling like you're failing, but if you look at what he's doing great, and he's doing it in his own way. So it's a gentle nod to not always comparing yourself to others. Others are just very, very simple. This one is about the fact that we type in has taken such a strong place in our life that like sometime when when you do hard work and you work in a field or you work with the wood, you can look at your hands and they have sort of like remains or traces of that. You'd have soil on your hands, or you'd have splinters if you work with wood, or paint if you work with drawing. And nowadays so many people work with computers. I like the idea of looking at your hand after work and having the letters of the keyboards staying on your hands. But some of them, because the show is for a younger audience, I wanted some of them to be gentler and more immediate, just simpler visual words, like all the sharks that we can see. They're just, I wanted to create these kits of tools, because I like the idea of like a saw shark, a hammerhead shark, and the fact that within the family of sharks you have almost a tool set. So I wanted to play with that visual image. This one is a visual representation of the memory of elephants. We all know that elephants have got incredible memories, and I like the idea of that. Their memories is so long that they can remember being a mammoth, their ancestors, and I wanted visually to represent that by the memory, imagination bubble to be filled with the exact image of him as a mammoth. I thought it created a nice visual language. This one again is on the subject of failure, or so-called failure, and it's about this character that has clearly missed every single spot with his darts, and so in order to not seem so bad at darts, creates another target with paint where he's actually thrown his darts, so that it appears like he's been winning. This one is gently playing with the analogy between the snail and the shells. Both similar, but when we find the seashell, usually it's empty because it's on the sand, and they normally live in the sea. And so it's about that character inquiring about what happens to the tenants of the other shell. This one is more about timidity. And I love the fact that usually when you're in social occasions, people have got funny ways to manifest the timidity, and I wanted to push that to the extreme of that character who seems like an adult behaving like a child would behind their parents. This one is about the enjoying simpler things, the fact that this guy, I've got this kitchen kitted and the sink to do the dishes and the dishwasher and everything, but what works best is simple companionship with the dog. How it's a sort of gift and a curse to have light when you're trying to read, and sometimes it's too harsh, and if you're someone like me that complains quite a lot, you never got the right amount. So you need a lot of light to read, but I hate big sources of light. This one is about in France, when you have a flat, you've got a little eye to look in the corridor like that, and we call that a bullseye, a reference to my Frenchness. This one was a simpler analogy between headphones and musical notes. This one is very French as well. Whenever I go to the boulangerie, the bakery with my kids on a Sunday morning usually, there's like a 2 minutes walk to my house, and they can never wait to be home, so they always want to eat the crusty bit of the bread before we get home. So it's almost as if they would do it as we walk in. This one is much more Korean. I love when I come to Korea quite a lot for work with my friend Jay, and I love going to Korean restaurants and seeing the infinity of tiny plates that there is, and I thought that was quite a nice graphic thing. I've painted it before, but I think in drawings in black and white like that, it almost creates a pattern, which I think was quite nice. This one, this big head, is sort of the follow-up to the paperboy's head that we have in the corridor as an introduction. And it's also a simple invitation to create, because there's nothing simpler than crumbling a piece of paper to make a bowl, and then instead of just throwing it in a bin, just decorate it, and that's the perfect shape. It's creativity at its simplest, and I think that's what the show is all about in a way. And I wanted the big pieces of work, the sort of 4 big points, to contrast with the rest of the work that's on the wall, which is very much narration-based. And this one I wanted them to be more decorative, so that it wouldn't disrupt and you wouldn't see them the same way, but still have a sense of narrativity, but that was maybe more disguised. So this one at first glance appears to be a pattern of random signs. And then when you get closer, you've got almost like a chameleon. You've got the little character that reveals himself to be the author of it, and there's himself covered in paint. An idea that sprang to me when I saw my kid drawing on the wall and on objects that they weren't meant to be drawing on, and instead of being mad at it, I was like, well, actually they're doing something, and they're challenging what's right and wrong, and I can explain to them on what you shouldn't draw, but at the end of the day, they're just expressing themselves. So instead of just shouting, it's first of all appreciating the gesture, and then second of all giving a bit of guidance, and I think it's a nice challenge of parenting. And if you look there, you have 2 brushes sort of like peeking through. This big installation is called The Artist, so on each moment you have a different artist. And here, if you peek through, you see that this wavy pattern is actually a snake holding the brush. And the same here, if you go all the way up, you realize that that's the trunk of an elephant. So we have 2 more artists. And here there's another pattern of scratch marks with a cat scratching as if he was caught in the act, looking a bit guilty, but that's our 3rd or 4th artist. And this big paper plane is because I make a lot of paper planes with my son Hugo, and we always find simple way to decorate them, and every time a different pattern, and I like the idea of that being, again, a simple act of creation, same as crumbling a bowl, just making a paper plane, decorating it, and you can buy as many plastic or electronic plane as you want, but this still works, and this bears the hand and humanity of its creator, and I think that's just one of the best things you can do. Those 2 giant sheets of paper, they're actually more narrative, but in the accumulation of both, there's something more playful. I wanted to have that pattern, checkered pattern as well. So you have the lines, the dots, the scratch mark, and the checkered. A female character in bed with a pet, because some people love sleeping with their pet, but whereas a partner, and the partner is actually squashed underneath a piece of paper, so you see him spread out on each corner. A daughter and a father doing what seems to be rock climbing, but actually pattern climbing. And then looking on the right, the dad realized actually that it's the daughter drawing the little bits they're climbing onto. Again, I wanted it to be more visual with a slight narrative detail. And then on the floor, we've got this cartoony steps. And as you follow them inside, you can see that it's a character who's actually stepped into black paint and is the author of it, reluctantly. And at the back, at the end, I've drawn the little story of Paperboy as an explanation to his inception and an encouragement to young audience to create the same. So you can see someone drawing a character, inevitably not being satisfied with it, crumbling it, throwing it in the bin, but as the bin topples, with the other bits of paper, they gather and they create this paper character who goes on and draws as well, puts his drawings on the wall, and then encourage other children to do the same. That's the introduction Paperboy head, and it's looking sideways as an invitation and as a leading to the space where the rest of the work is. And then if you look on the side, we've got a tiny ant insect that is actually looking at. And I just wanted to be a very minimal, large-scale invitation with a little detail, tongue-in-cheek.